By the time y'all make it happen. So yeah, man, we here, we live. What up, what up, what up?
Going on?
Here at RKTRealestate.com in the building. So Rashidi, they actually on their way to a real estate situation. So tell us what's going on.
Yeah, man. We want to talk about real estate today. Understanding what real estate really means. And what's the value in buying property and stuff like that. First start off, we're in New York City, so New York City is a perfect example where if you're working a full-time job, you might as well at the very minimum try to get a co-op. Meaning that at the end of the day, especially you young cats right now, if you're like 25, under 20, you got a full-time job, you don't got that much debt or whatever the case is. And if you do have that, of course, us at RKT could take care of that and help you figure out what you need to do. But the point is that you could get a co-op in New York City where you're paying rent for a 1-bedroom in Queens, the Bronx, something like that. You'd be paying the same thing you're paying in rent. Your mortgage would be like $1,500 to $1,800 for a 1 to 2 bedroom, and it's yours. And by the time you're 55, it's paid off, and all you're just paying is just taxes,
right?
Which is crazy. So if you're that young and if you do nothing else but just get one property at 25, by the time you're 55, you can sell it. That same property you buy for 180,000, 200,000, it might be worth 300,000 by the time you hit that age, and you walking away with a $300,000 check to go wherever you want to do what you want to do with it, or buy another property. But the point is, real estate is key, man. You might as well take advantage of something like that. And especially young cats, like I said, if you get one of those co-ops, you can live in it for a year and a half, then rent it out and get another spot. So it's so many ways to make money with real estate, even in the city. People think New York City, it is expensive, but the co-ops, because it's privately owned, it's the same space as a condo. You're already living in the same building. It's your own space and you own it.
Right. So Kelly, what's your thoughts on that? Is Kelly able to?
Yeah, you guys can't see me, but could you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, ultimately, man, it's definitely the way to go, because it's about thinking about real estate. It's about thinking about your future. As we get older, there's less and less things that we want to worry about. Right. And one thing is that no matter what, as long as you're on this earth, you're gonna have to pay something. Right. However, when you get to retirement, you don't want to. You're going to be on a fixed income, and when you're on that fixed income, you want to make sure that you're in a property that you don't, like Rashidi was saying, you don't have to pay no mortgage, you don't have to pay no rent. You will literally just be paying the property tax and maybe other maintenance that has to be done around a house, but that's about it. There's nothing else that really has to be done. And the thing about real estate, it's not just it's not just residential, it's also commercial real estate as well. So if you want to think about investments, if you're out there, you making money, if you want to invest in certain commercial properties, you can do that as well. That's a great way to flip money. Real estate's been going on for a long time, and it's a lucrative business to where you can not only make money but get a lot, pretty much become rich at it too. So it's definitely good to live in. Obviously, you want to live in a home, but you also want to be able to invest into these properties so you can make a profit as well. So it's a win-win all across the board.
And so what are some things that people can do to get into it and start it? Because somebody might say, well, I don't have the type of money, and I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go first. How do I find the houses? How do so what are some things that people could do to start? If they want to start today or this week or whatever, what would you tell them to do?
Yeah, first they book an appointment on the site. We go over that because we're realtors and we do credit. We know all the angles. We know exactly what the banks are looking for, and we fix credit, so we know exactly what we need to do to get you there. As far as how to get started, it's very simple. The basic criteria is you have a full-time job and you did your taxes for the past 2 years. That's the most basic criteria out there. If you got a full-time job, and like I said, you did your tax for the past 2 years, you automatically qualify in general. Now, we gotta look at your credit, but that's the basic criteria. Right. So anyone, if you work on part-time, if you've been at that part-time job for 2 years, it's 2 years for the part-time job. And if you've been in a part-time job for 2 years, you can use that income. So it's a pretty simple formula on how to get qualified for a property. So the first step is just giving us a call, taking a look at your credit, and we ask those simple questions like how long you've been at your job. We ask those questions, as far as you working full time, how much money you make, do you got a car payment? But either way, it's pretty simple to get approved. It's just knowing what needs to be done.
Right. So Miles, they're on their way right now to a real estate event. So Rashidi and Kaleem don't play. They really about that life. You feel me? So you know what I'm saying? Oh man, that's crazy. So the thing is, so if you look over people's their the credit and all that other stuff. So does a person need to have good credit in order to get the loan, in order to be able to get the crib? Is that how to work?
No, it's a myth. It's a myth. So to be considered good credit is going to be from 690 and above. A lot of the down payment assistance programs start at a 620. So you can easily get a property starting at a 620, get help with the down payment, and still get a home. So it's a myth about having perfect credit. That's not a real thing that you have to do. Of course, the higher your credit score is, the better your payment is. But that part doesn't matter, because think about it. Even if you have a higher payment right now, at the end of the day, you're still getting money back. Meaning when you pay your rent for $1,500, you get zero back. Even if you have a higher payment and you're paying $1,800 in mortgage a month, you're probably recouping about $600 to $700 of that back a month. When you look at it, when you're paying off the loan, so you're getting that back. And by the end of the year, you got back. Say your rent was, like I said, I'm not good at math, $1,800. Say your rent was roughly $26,000. At the end of the year, by the time you pay your mortgage, really, you get back a $6,000 credit. So that's how the math really works. So in the long run, you get money back no matter what. And you can always do what's called refinancing, meaning when your credit is better, you can get a better rate and lower your payment. So it's a win-win situation.
Right.
And let's think deeper. Right now, everybody be laughing about old people like 65, 75 working at McDonald's and XYZ. Our generation and the generation younger than us, y'all about to be working to 102 so you croak over. Just think about it. If it's only pensions, it's only not too many jobs doing pensions and all that.
Right.
Everybody doing 401k. The average person has a 401k of like 300,000. Can you live off of 300,000 and your Social Security 2,000 a month? By the time you retire, rent's going to be like 3,500 for a 1-bedroom. And if you only bringing in the Social Security and 401k 2,500 or exactly 3,000, you short 500. Or even if you breaking even, you can't go nowhere. You can't do nothing. Nothing can go wrong. That means you can't even go to doctor visits. That's why people are dying even faster, because you can't even afford to go to the doctor. So people don't understand, like, yeah, it's cool, it's cute to rent, but at the end of the day, when it catches up to you is when you 65 and you can't get a full-time job because your body can't take it and you can't do no overtime, and now you stuck. That's when it ain't right now. It's when it comes time for you to retire, you stuck. You can't do nothing, literally, for the rest of the 30 years of your life. So not only you old and slow, you can't go nowhere and do nothing while you're old and slow. Like, it's crazy.
So what are some of the things people need to look out for when they're doing this, like the downside of it, in the sense of not necessarily a downside, but more so like, because I think a lot of times when people talk about real estate, they think it's like, oh, I just need to, buy a property and just make mad money. You feel what I'm saying? So like, what are the things that people need to look out for so that they don't get caught up and sort of like, ruin their situations that they're trying to build. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. That's important. There's pros and cons and everything. And that's why we explain that type of thing.
Right.
So a lot of people are not necessarily ready to be straight home owners, meaning buying a house. Right. You don't have to start off with a house, because a house, that means you got to maintain a house. That means if you live in the Northeast, you got to shovel snow. You know what I mean? Things like that. Something goes wrong, you got to fix it within a timely manner.
Right.
A lot of people, we tell them like, hey, listen, you ain't ready for the house yet. Especially you live in the city, you can't buy a house anyway, because especially in New York, for example, the house will start about 600,000. So you can't really start a house anyway. But even if you could, you don't want to, because if you get a condo or a co-op, it's in a building. So that means you pay these fees for a reason. They take care of everything. They take care of shoveling. They take care of the snow. So you have very little maintenance. So therefore, it's safe home ownership.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where you still have own property, but you don't have to worry about shoveling the snow. You don't have to worry about the roof when it breaks because you're only responsible for inside of your apartment. Simple stuff. The toilet get backed up, things like that, the little stuff.
Right.
So it's easy home ownership. It gives you practice. So when you do want to buy the house, whether it's a year later or 10 years later, you now have practice on, in general, what it takes to own some type of property. And you could transition into that new property because now you could rent this spot out and you can afford some of the little stuff that you need to do when you need to fix the house because now you're making more money.
So you're talking about that's like the condos and stuff you're talking about?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
That's dope. That's dope.
Mm-hmm.
That's dope. So, Kayleen, what's your thoughts on all that? You got any other things you want to say?
Yeah, so I would say also too, if your credit is good, right, what's going to happen is that your interest rate is going to be fair, and so that extra money that you're going to be spending, or someone who with bad credit is going to be spending on that interest rate, they could take some of that money and use and give it to a property manager. So as far as managing a property, things of that nature, because a lot of times that's something that a lot of people don't want to deal with is managing their own property. But if they, they could qualify the extra I think what's the percentage of it?
About 10%.
About 10% of the rent.
Mm-hmm.
That can go towards a property manager, and that person doesn't have to have the headache and the stress of managing that property. So it's something that people should take into consideration too.
Yeah, and so to give real raw numbers to piggyback off what Kayleen said is that essentially if you do want to get a house, right, but you don't want the headache of maintaining the house, what a property manager does is that same house they take on average, you can find people less, and we do property management now too. But anyway, they take 10% of what the rent is. So if the rent is $2,000, you have to pay your property manager to handle all your stress, $200 on average for the month. Which is reasonable. It cuts a little bit in your profit, but it's a peace of mind. So you're still making money, but somebody's taking on the stress for extra $200 a month.
So
you can't really beat that.
So the property manager, what do they handle? Just like
anything that goes wrong with the house, whether some pipes, they organize the plumbers, the electricians.
Oh, did they quit?
I call in the middle of the night. Hey, landlord, my pipe just burst. Like, God damn, I can't take this. I gotta go figure this out. Nah, your property manager handles that. They call your property manager. They just let you know, like, hey, listen, the pipe burst, whatever, we got it fixed. This is the bill for it, but you don't have to worry about the stress. You just pay the bill for what's needed. They literally handle any problems that happen on the property. They're literally a super. They're pretty much the super for your house. To keep it simple.
That's what's up, man. Yo, that's dope. Because I think one of the things that keep people from, even trying to do it is that like those things that people are like, oh, well, I don't, it's going to be too much trouble to do this. And if this happened and that happened. And I think also too, like when people are renting, I think they have a fear about the tenants of having to deal with those people. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. That's a real thing. That's a real thing.
Right. So to deal with these motherfuckers and shit, you know what I'm saying? So that's another thing that I think that people need to figure out when
there are some crazy tenants out there. I ain't gonna lie, they are. I think you just gotta be a good judgment of character of who you're renting the place to, and two, you got to see their background, their credentials. It's just like almost like going for a job. Like not everybody's qualified for certain jobs, and some people are not qualified to be living on your property.
Absolutely,
that's a fact.
You got to do background checks. Sometimes credit score checks too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's sometimes, all the time.
Yeah, because I mean, if a person can't pay their bill, then how the fuck they gonna pay your rent?
Right.
Exactly.
I feel like the only exception is if she's a baddie. If she's hot, then you just
nigga, you know better than that, nigga.
Well, no, she's bad.
That's sarcasm at its finest.
I'm just saying she bad though. I'm saying she good for it. She good.
Yeah, she good for
it. She'll pay you in sex. No, but, oh man. But I think that this is good because I feel like more people need to be educated on this shit, because I think there's people who want to get involved, but they're not educated on it. And so it's always the fear of the unknown. So they don't know about it. And so they think they're always thinking about other things that could go wrong, or, oh, I can't do that. How am I going to get the money? How am I going to find the tenants? How am I going to do this? And like you're saying, and you're explaining, how am I going to fix this and that? You're explaining that there's things in place that people can, do to make that type of shit happen. You know what I'm saying? So,
absolutely.
So that could go down too. What did y'all ever hear about the what was that shit that happened with DJ Envy? Did y'all hear about that? With the
yes.
What was your thoughts on that? Like, they were saying he was scamming people, or like, what was this? What do you?
When I think about, I honestly believe that he knew what was going on, but I feel like that he was already in too deep to pull out. Of course, you get what I'm saying? Like, I think that's what I think that's what happened. Like, he knew everything that was going on, and he made it seem like he was innocent. He didn't know what was going on the whole time. He knew what he was getting into, but because it hit the fan, and because he's a public figure, he tried to like dance his way out of it. You get what I'm saying? Like, he knew he was definitely down with it, and he probably didn't agree with it, but it was too late. It was already happening, and he just didn't stop doing it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel about it.
So what you're trying to say is you got to go to rktrealestate.com so you won't get scammed. Exactly.
Yes, sir. Yes. I like it.
What's up? That's how it goes. Oh man, that shit's crazy. But Miles, what's your thoughts on this? Because you've been doing housing shit, back in the day and all that other stuff. So what's your take?
Well, real estate is there's a lot of things that can be done in real estate, but I think that the best way and the low stress way of fucking with real estate is like there was like Rashidi and Kayleen was talking about is
Oh, my bad. My shit came in late. Oh. Got a delay, but go ahead.
Is buying property and holding it, and then putting it under management company, and just collecting rent, bro. Like, I remember I saw something that inspired me was I saw it was like a reel or something. We spoke about this before, but I saw it was a reel where it was like just some guys chilling, and it was like, so how many doors do you own? And the nigga was like, oh, I own 46 doors, and I make like 1 point something a month. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, that's where I want to be, and them niggas was chilling, like drinking some cocktails, and they wasn't going to work anytime soon type shit.
Right.
And I used to have a landlord back when I lived in Orlando. Every other time I tried to call her about something, this bitch was in Italy. She was in Spain. She was just jet setting across the whole fucking world because all she really did was collect rent. Her and her husband owned, I don't know how many properties. They owned industrial property, and they owned one of those, Madame Tussauds wax house.
Right.
Those, and they owned a Ripley's Believe It or Not.
Wow.
You understand what I'm saying? So them niggas was just chilling. So I mean, it's a lot of people don't realize that real estate can change your life if you do it right. Now you have some people who, they want to flip money right away. Now, if you got a decent cash flow and you got a good team of people, then you could definitely do, fix and flips and all that type of shit. But like good real estate is long term. Like you got a long term situation. Some people own a portfolio of properties. Say they own 20 properties and they keep going until their portfolio is worth as much as an apartment building, and then they sell their portfolio and buy an apartment building. You understand? So imagine you got 10 houses, right? And then you find an apartment building, and all your 10 houses is like worth, like if you was to liquidate, meaning if you were to sell the value of everything at this moment in time, your shit was probably worth like, a couple million. And the apartment building is a couple million. Then you got 10 houses, but the apartment building has 20 apartment units in it.
Right.
So instead of collecting rent from 10 houses, you could be collecting rent from 20 units.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different ways to do it. Or you could take out a loan against the 10 houses that you got and use that to buy the apartment building where you could keep all the property. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of different ways to do shit, but once you get deep into real estate, I suggest getting, like having a real estate lawyer on retainer, having a good real estate agent on retainer, things like that. And of course a good property management company, on staff too. You see what I'm saying? Because then you could just, own the property, collect your rent, and the cool part about real estate is that no matter what, the house is going to be worth more next year than it is worth now.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's another thing too. Say you got 10 properties and say you fall on hard times, you could sell any number of houses.
Mm-hmm.
And then deal with whatever hard times you're going through, and then keep it moving that way. You see what I'm saying? So when it comes to real estate, it's a long game type of thing, but it's something it's stable. You understand? Like, it's not like investing in stocks and then if the company fails, then you fucked. It's like there's like real estate almost can't fail. You really can't, because even if the house burned down, as long as you got your insurance paid up, you good. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's, there's a lot of different things where it's like there's a lot of fail safes when it comes to real estate, but it's a long game type of strategy. So, guys, especially if you young, man, instead of, and I always tell niggas this, I'm like, bro, instead of moving out of your parents' house just to go pay rent, why don't you move out of your parents' house and get a condo?
Right.
Instead of paying rent, you pay a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So that means the first place you move to becomes property. And then what? You live there for 3 to 5 years. And then after that, you can move to another condo or move to another house. I just saw a video the other day, and this young lady was talking, and she was like, I think it was on Fresh and Fit or something. And the lady was saying, she bought like, she bought 10 units in this, condo or co-op building, and there's 2 units left, and she's negotiating with the last 2 owners so she could own the whole fucking building. You see what I'm saying? Like, you can't beat that type of fucking like financial security, bro. You just can't. You know what I'm saying? You just can't, especially if you own a building in a decent location where people actually want to live.
Right.
I'm saying, like, that shit is fire. That's fire type shit. And then thing is with real estate too, is you never have to worry about having a place to live, because if anything goes down, then you can always go live in one of your properties.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of cool things with real estate. It's just, again, cats, a lot of cats don't think about it because it's not a glamorous life. It's not the most glamorous thing, because like you said, when the people call you like, oh yeah, my toilet stopped up, or the electricity problems, or the roof is leaking, it's like, shit, now I gotta go deal with this bullshit. But at the same time, it's like, in the long run, how many times can the roof leak? Right. You gonna get 4 or 5 rent payments before the next leaky roof.
Exactly.
You see what I'm saying? For the next 3 to 5 years, the neighborhood that your house is in is gonna go up in value. Especially if you're lucky enough to get a piece of property in a location that's about to get gentrified or some shit like that. Like my nigga, I know someone whose grandfather bought 2 houses in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. The nigga, he bought one house for $5,000, and the second house they gave it to him for $1.
Wow.
Imagine that shit. Back in the 50s, he bought a house for $5,000, and he bought the house right next door to it for $1. You see what I'm saying? Now each house by itself is worth like 2 point something.
That's great.
And the family still owns the shit. And the Jews, that's why I said Williamsburg, because the Jewish niggas is coming at them daily. Like, yo, we want to buy your property. We want to buy your property. And they keep holding out. And imagine every fucking month, the property goes up by another like $100,000. Right. You know what I'm saying? So you just hold on to the shit, and it just keeps, increasing in value. So, it's a long game, and you got to have a little bit of patience, but I'm telling you, it is, it can definitely give you financial stability for generations to come, especially if you put all of the houses in a trust and all that other shit like we was talking about on the previous episode.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk. So we got a question here real quick. It says, do you guys coach people on how to independently create a side stream of income using real estate?
Yes, we do.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So see, you guys got to go call RKT realestate.com. Go and, hit these guys up. The number scrolling at the bottom, 973-420-5028. You guys are at your place already?
Yeah, a couple minutes away. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So what's the last thing you guys would say as far as what people should know about real estate and what else do you think they would need to do and all that other stuff?
The last thing we say is that if you got a full-time job, call us. Just that simple. We'll look at your finances. We'll get you to where you need to be. We'll walk you and coach you through all the down payments in your city. So it don't matter what state you're in. We have referral partners in every state, and we know about all the programs in every state, and any information we don't know, we could obtain it. So meaning that you could be in a perfect situation where you got a full-time job, you did your taxes for the past 2 years, we get you to a 620, you could be in a perfect situation where you maybe only need $2 or $3 grand, and you can have your own property. And think about it logically. If you're getting an apartment, you got to put 1 month rent down or 2 months rent down, which is $3-4 grand anyway. Why not put $3-4 grand down and get your own spot instead of putting a deposit down on an apartment anyway? That's crazy. That's crazy.
What's interesting too about real estate is like you don't have to be smart.
No, not at all.
Like you don't have to have a skill. You don't have to be smart. You don't have to, you know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to really do anything, but just know how to put some money down on the property and then just maintain what you got to do with it. That's like the about it. You know what I'm saying? Because with other things, you might need to be smart or you might need to have a skill. And with this, you don't really necessarily need it in that sense. You see what I'm saying?
No.
Correct.
You just gotta know the right people.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, in some ways, yeah, you do need to know basic math. You know what I'm saying? You do need to know basic math. But I mean, you're right. Like you don't need to be smart like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't need to be smart. And another thing is too, if you're patient enough, like everything will come to you when it comes to real estate.
Right.
Oh yeah.
If you're patient enough and you're observant, it's dope. Like you don't need to worry about nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to worry about much, but real estate is dope, man. Real estate is dope. Guys, if you want to start off, I'll tell any cat, like you want to start off saving your money in an interest bearing account, like a mutual fund or, a high yield interest account at a credit union or whatever. And then when your money gets to the point where you can put a good down payment and you got a decent credit score, get yourself some property, bro. Get yourself some property. And then, like I said, play the long game. Some people do this other thing called house hacking, where they buy a multi-family house and they live in one of the parts of the house, and then they rent out the rest of the property to other people. So let's say you get a 2-story house, you live on the top floor, and then you sell the first floor and the basement and the backyard. You rent that out to somebody. You understand? You live there for 3 to 5 years. You save up your bread, and then you do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can move into the new spot, or you buy the new spot and then rent out the spot, rent out the whole new property. If you like where you live, you can rent out the whole new property, or you could kick the people on the first floor out and then just rent out the other 2 units from the brand new property. And then you got your whole house to yourself type shit. Like you could do so many things. You could do so many things.
So many things, like you said, so many things, for real.
Mm-hmm.
Real talk. So we got last question here. Do you have to have W-2 or can it be 1099?
It can be 1099. It can be 1099. There's more detail when it comes to that. That's why I just booked your appointment and we could go over that. But to keep it simple, if you're a 1099, you had to have done your taxes the past 2 years. Well, you don't have to. But if you did your tax in the past 2 years, that helped, and you couldn't have written off the world. That's the main thing I tell people. Like if you wrote off every single little thing, we have a workaround. But if you wrote off everything, you may have to wait a year. But the point is, call us so we can know where you at And if you did write off anything, we get you prepared for the next year. And there's
Mm-hmm.
actually programs out there that you can use where they can use 1 year worth of taxes. So there's a lot of ways to get prepared, whether you're a 9 to 5 or like you said, you're a 1099. But the first step is actually go to the site, book the appointment, and we have all the answers.
Yeah, so guys, go to rktrealestate.com, motherfuckers. That's my shit fucking horns. I'm like, God damn it. That shit gonna play in 2 seconds. But guys, so yeah, make sure you guys hit up rktrealestate.com. And yeah, man, that's pretty much it. And we will holler at y'all next week, same time, same place. And we are out of here. Remember, the truth is inside you. Peace. I'm gone. I'm out. We out.